Good morning. It's mid-October 2017, and I thought I'd take advantage of this overcast day to show you around my yard. I really got into gardening the last 2 years. In my first year, I planted a few trees, white Sapote, Barbados Cherry, Mulberry, and then in year 2, I really caught the bug and planted over 90 edible trees. So I have over 200 plants and trees in my yard. About 150 of those are edible. And the reason I garden is threefold. First off, by organic gardening, I avoid the pesticides and chemicals, genetically modified food that's pushed in stores, basically for profit. And I also get to have more variety and better tasting fruit. So what you get in the store ships well, it stores well, but it doesn't necessarily taste good. And there are a lot of different fruit varieties out there that are delicious, but because they don't have shelf life, they're not going to be offered. Figs is a great example of that. You really don't find figs in the stores, yet they're highly nutritious, really tasty fruit, but you have to pick it fresh off your tree. And the last aspect is, it's just so healing to be in the garden. I mean, we all have to deal with the world, the stresses, and to come out here, just be in nature, and be able to work in concert with nature to, produce delicious food. There's nothing more gratifying than coming out into your yard and picking, fresh vegetables and fruits. So, probably enough rambling. I'm going to take you through the garden. I'm going to try to slow it down. I have a tendency to, walk too fast, and I want to focus on each plant. So it's going to take some time. So this video is not going to be short. I have a variety of Plumeria. These are not edible. They're beautiful flowers that are very, very fragrant. Most people, associate them to Hawaii. They're not actually tropical. They grow in the deserts of Mexico, which is why they do pretty well here. You do need to shade protect them the first year or two until they establish roots. Then they can grow full into the sun. This is a Buddha belly bamboo, Bambusa vulgaris. I planted this summer. You can see the new cane popping up there. These can grow to 30 feet tall. So I did this for a nice windbreak and really to shade protect these Plumeria as well. Produce some filtered light, as well as the tropical aesthetic appeal they provide. This is the Barbados Cherry. So this fruit actually has a tremendous amount of vitamin C in it. It's a natural source of ascorbic acid, and it has all the cofactors for absorption. So if you don't have access to vitamin C, these plants are great for that. And what's nice is these flowers, you can see these pink flowers, they go from flower to ripe fruit in 30 days, so a very short fruit cycle. It takes about 1.5 years to start getting fruit off these, I found. They'll flower profusely but not produce fruit until 1.5 years. And then once it goes there, it'll continue for you. So this has been in the ground for 2 years. You can see it's about 10 feet wide, and my wall is 6 foot tall, so it's getting close to the top there. I never had to shade protect it or protect it from the sun. So it's a nice fuss-free edible you can grow. I would definitely recommend it for those starting out. Next to it is the dwarf everbearing mulberry. This tree tops out about 12 feet. So it's a fairly sizable dwarf, but it's not nearly the size that, you know, other mulberry varieties can get to, where they can go 50 feet and beyond. It sets an enormous amount of fruit in the spring. But you can see even now, I've got pieces of fruit here and there on this tree. Mulberries are also very nutritious. Lots of anti-inflammatories in it, antioxidants. And it's hard to find these fruit in the stores. It's one that you want to pick fresh off the tree. Over here is the Moringa Oleifera. You can check out my my other video where I focus on these. Tree of life. It's one of the most nutritious trees you can grow. Almost every aspect of it's edible. Over here I have fig trees. You can check out my fig tour to see all the various varieties I'm growing over 40 types. And I'll just walk through the rose garden. It's looking much nicer now that the temperatures have cooled and we've changed seasons. These are all hybrid tea roses. And with most of the plants, these were planted in half native, half cactus soil, just to provide better drainage. Over here is a tropical guava. It was sold to me as a white hilo. It's not a white variety. This one is a pink variety. And I'm not quite sure of the cultivar yet. Has a different taste to it than my other Lowe's tropical pink. Looks like it's putting out some flower buds. So this one's putting out a second crop of fruit, which guava will do for you. Once they're mature, you'll get your main crop in summer, and then it'll set a second smaller crop in fall that will mature in spring. The hummingbirds and bees, of course, love roses. Nice attractant for that, and a nice fragrance in the yard. Over here is a new plant that I put in about a month ago. I got this from One Green World. It is a Shangri-La Mulberry, considered one of the best of the purple fruiting mulberries. Leaves are very large. Nice, sweet, tasty fruit. It's small at this time. I mean, this is just a little whip, but these mulberries grow extremely fast. So I will have a sizable tree probably in a year and a half from this little guy. So you really don't need to purchase large mulberry trees. They'll make up for their size quickly. Over there are some tuberose. I found that's another great plant to put in the yard for flowers that are fragrant. You can't beat a tuberose. They grow remarkably well here. Again, it's attributed more to tropical climates, you know, like Hawaii. They make leis out of that. now we're against my south-facing wall. Here's the key lime. Did a video on key limes versus Persian recently, so you can check that out if you have an interest. There's another fig plant. This is my Subel white Sapote. This was one of the few plants that I did put in early on. This is actually a 4-year-old plant, but I really didn't know what I was doing back then, and I transplanted this guy so many times. It's crazy. So the first time that I got fruit was this year, and the fruit's been really variable. The first one I had tasted like turpentine. The second one was a lot better. I would ascribe the taste to pineapple and citrus. So it does have a bit of a tropical flavor to it. And definitely has that custard-like consistency. This plant I put in last spring. This is a black sapote or chocolate persimmon. And it did flower and set fruit this year. Fruit is sitting in that bag down there. We'll see if it ripens to maturity. Another fig plant. This is the Kahala longan that I did a tasting on recently. This produced flowers for the first time this spring. It was planted last spring. And I didn't protect it. We didn't have too bad of a winter this year. It was fairly mild. But I've read that Kahala longans, that variety, they're more cold tolerant than other varieties. So I probably will not be protecting this. See how it does. Another fig plant. Texas everbearing. I have pretty much a fig hedge going here, so you can see all these up against the wall, more or less espalier them. Here's the Meyer Lemon. You can see it's packed with lemons this year. Always get a good amount of citrus from my trees. This is a Smyrna Quince that I put in this year, spring, as a 15-gallon, so it was kind of an instant tree. And it's now finally starting to stretch its roots out. I think it was a little bit stunted initially. I didn't see much going on. Roses. See, I've got another good-sized Plumeria. Over here is the sunrise mango. This was put in last summer. It produced mangoes for me this year. Fiberless, something you could never get at the store. With some cold protection, I think mangoes can be pretty successful here in 9B, in the Phoenix area. This is Anna apple. So prior to last summer, this was all lawn, and I mowed it down to the ground, applied cardboard sheet mulching, and then laid wood chips on top. And the plan was to put a pathway, as you can see, down the middle, as well as plant tropicals on either side. I really wanted to put in a more tropical flavor to the yard, and clumping bamboo seemed to fit that. So I planted a variety of different clumping bamboos, as well as canna lilies. We'll take a look at those. And then the idea is to let the bamboo grow out so that it canopies over this walkway. You can see in the middle there is a Royal Poinciana, and I had killed one prior just because I put in a winter lawn, and having the lawn here just waterbogged it down. So Poincianas do not like wet feet in the winter time. You know, they go dormant when it cools down. So that tree will be much happier now that I've changed things up. Just walk through this side. So this is where I have a good majority of my Plumerias planted. This is a nice space behind the pool wall. It's protected from winds. And it's up on a slope, so the drainage is nice for these. They don't get wet feet in the winter time when we get lots of rain. They're kind of taking a break from blooming at this point in time. But we'll be getting ready to bloom again in about a month or so here. So here's the Alphonse Carr. This is a very ornamental variety. You can see that the new cane has a pinkish tint there, the green stripe, and it matures into that yellow coloring. These don't get too tall. It gets about 15 feet. Canna lily. This is the old Hommy clumping variety, or giant timber. Some new canes coming off of this one. And these can get very tall, to 50 feet, but you can always chop them down to where you want the height ended. Just stunning flowers on these. So over here I have another tropical pink variety. This is a Beaumont. I think I got that one at Tropica Mango out in Apache Junction here locally. This is a Eureka Lemon I planted a year after I moved into this house. This whole yard was basically dirt. It was a new build. So I started from scratch, made some mistakes. I did the typical thing of planting citrus and shade trees that do well in our climate. You know, put a lawn in, put in a bunch of gravel. Obviously I could do things differently now. I would. But I have done the conversion on 2 of the areas. From grass to an edible landscape. So this tree was put in, I believe, April, and it was very small, just a single stick, so it's bushed out, and I think Royal Poinciana is probably, this time of the year, is their favorite. You know, they've gone through the summer and we've cooled a bit. We're still warm though. They're Alphonse Carr. This area has really grown in, become a bit of a jungle. So fig trees, you can see here. This one is a cherry of the Rio Grande I got from Seamus O'Leary's a couple years ago. And this one needs to be protected completely, I've found. I had to put shade cloth up 90%, otherwise it burns up pretty good here. So I recommend, if you're going to plant this, put it under a larger tree, make it an understory tree, or plan on shade protecting it. Another fig. This is the curry leaf, and I did a video on this when it was fruiting. So I'll show you where I pruned it. I actually topped it right there. It was leaning way over, so I just cut it back. And this tree responds really well to pruning. You can see it pushed all that new growth. It's bushed out quite a bit. So if you want to stimulate growth on your curry plant, definitely prune it in this spring. More figs back here. I've got a tropical pink guava there. This is a Tikal guava, it's yellow-skinned guava. And up front there is a golden-kissed apricot. It's fairly dense back here. Not much walking space. You can see down on the ground, I established some ground cover. I did this by just planting in the well some seeds. So I threw down some cantaloupe and watermelon seeds. You can see I've got some cantaloupe that's set there. Looks like some more coming up. So a nice way to kind of double your harvest is planting seeds in the wells. You're watering them anyways, and the ground cover is going to help the soil life. This is another white sapote. This is a Vernon cultivar, and I got this one from Lowe's. This was a seedling that I put in late spring. This is a pink Barbie, and I got this seedling from Wells Springs. Very economical for starts, like $5. We have some nice varieties. Over here is a white guava. I believe this is the white Indian guava. And I got this one from Seamus O'Leary's 2 years ago. Not as productive as the pink variety thus far, but it is setting its second crop, as you can see there, that fruit. Over here is a pineapple Anona. This is a cross between an Attamoy and a sugar apple. I got this one from Top Tropicals, which is a mail order place in Florida. This is another plant that I got locally here from Seamus O'Leary's. This is a Patomba. It's in the Eugenia family. It's really not done a whole lot since I put it in the ground 2 years ago. Pretty much the same size. It definitely likes shade protection during the summer, especially the brunt of the summer when we're in 120 degrees. They are supposed to be slow growers, so I'm gonna hold on to that one for a while. This is the variegated pink guava honeymoon cultivar that I got from Top Tropicals. Planted this spring. Get down here to where the fruit is. You can see that guy is variegated also. Beyond being ornamental, unique in its variegation, it does produce baseball size, very sweet pink guavas. So I did buy quite a few plants from a Hawaiian mail order place. This is one of them. This is a Patanga. It's referred to as red Suriname. So it is a seedling. It's not a grafted variety. So the fruit quality may not be so great. You're always taking a chance with the seedling on these. I had done a lot of experimentation my first year. You know, I tried Araza, Abui, I think it's called Abui, Camito Star. I tried green Sapote, Canistel, Meme Sapote, and then I've killed quite a few of the lychees. I think 3 of them so far, so I gave up on that one. But these are the tropicals that remain that have done well for me. I'll show you those. This is, of course, another fig. So here's the mountain soursop. This is in the Anona family. It's related to soursop, normal soursop. It's called Anona Muricata. This one is called Anona montana. Its generic name is mountain soursop. So the fruit on this is not going to be like your typical soursop. It's not supposed to be all that great. It's edible, but certainly doesn't have the same flavor going for it. The leaves are medicinal, and why I'm growing it is for that purpose. And also it's in the ground because this variety, unlike soursop, can tolerate cold temperatures down to 28. Normal soursop starts to look pretty bad even at 32. So here's the bear's lime. Got some more Plumeria going. Over here I have a Brazilian grape, Jabuticaba. That one's in the ground. In the pot I have a sugar apple. These have flowered quite a bit over the 2 years I've had them potted up. No fruit set yet. This is a raw sapote. It's supposed to be one of the best of the canistels. I had a canistel in the ground, it didn't do so well, so this one is potted. Over here is the Anona Muricata. Back here is a cacao or theobromine. You can see what the new leaves look like. Almost translucent there. And down here is a Grumachaman, actually, I should mention. So this is my second attempt at Grumachama, and it's not looking too good. You can see it's really chopped back. These have a really hard time in the sun. I had 90% shade cloth up, and even then it burned, it crisped up. I was watering it every day. This is definitely an understory type tree, if you're going to try it. I may end up pulling it. I just heard that the cherries are superior for the eugenias on this variety, so I really wanted to grow it. But I think it has an issue with our dry air. This is grown in the rainforest, so it likes higher humidity. Probably you can have more success with it in maybe Southern California, where you're closer to the ocean, higher humidity. This is a new one I'm trying this year. This is a Muscadine, and I'm training it on this wire fencing here. This is a Nesbit, which is a cultivar that's self-pollinating, so I don't need another type. Many muscadines you do, but this one apparently you don't. And this will be a black colored muscadine. Has not fruited for me yet. Another fig. Yet another fig. This is the Merino Sapodilla, or Chico Sapote. This one I also got from Seamus O'Leary's a couple years ago. It's grown, but marginally. These are very slow growing. It has produced flowers for the first time this year, but they did not set any fruit for me yet. Still too young. This was a 3-gallonette purchase, so if you really want Chico Sapote, I would suggest getting a bigger size to start with, so you get fruit faster. This particular tropical pink guava is called Hong Kong, and this cultivar I got from Willis Orchard. It's an online nursery. Here's another tropical pink guava. This one was from Lowe's, and it's put on quite a bit of size. It's exceeding the wall height. You can see the trunk is getting pretty good size. Under this jacaranda and ficus overhead, you can see it's providing a nice microclimate of filtered light. I've got a few more sensitive trees here. So this is the Buddha hand. I had this in full sun. It does not like full sun. Needs some filtered light, some protection. This is a new plant. I've got it potted. This is the Szechuan pepper tree. This should be fine. I just want to fine in full sun, but I want to make sure I pick the right climate for it, so that's why I have it in a pot until I can find that. This is a Persian Lilac, and these are only supposed to tolerate up to zone 8. People have grown them, but I would suggest, keeping them in the shade. They do not care for full-on Arizona sun. So this was the other area that was all lawn before. I pulled this up last summer. Well, mowed it down, really. Tried to dig up as much as I could, but those rhizomes on Bermuda grass are hard to pull. So pretty much just smothered out the grass. Laying down the wood chips and cardboard has worked pretty well to keep the weeds down. So this area is really transformed. All of this was planted in the last year and a half. Some of these plants are really new, actually, and maybe only about 6 months old. So this mulberry, this is a Pakistani mulberry. Planted this 2 years ago as a bare root. I think I got the bare root from Willis, and it's grown immense. So the trunk, I can't get my hand around that. Just the amount of growth in 1 year. It was probably 4 feet tall at the beginning of spring, and now it's probably 16 feet tall. Over here I have a Costa Rican red pear guava, or Koslova. This one I got from Tropica Mango, locally. This is a champagne loquat that I've really babied because I'm really interested in growing loquat. It's a great nutritious fruit, and it does well here, as long as you shade protect it the first year. So it's looking nice and healthy. I have grafted a Macbeth onto it because this needs a pollinator. And this particular tree I got from a tropical concept in Phoenix. This plant also came from a tropical concept in Phoenix. It's a black star Suriname cherry. Suriname cherries are unusual, and if you like some heat or spice, this might be the fruit for you. It's definitely got some heat to it, so it's a totally different flavor. It's hard to describe. It's more of a savory cherry than sweet. This one came from Top Tropicals. This is a mango. This is my Bailey's Marvel, and this is a delicious fiberless mango. I probably put it up higher than the Sunrise variety. This plant I got from Richard's Nursery out in Phoenix. This is a mandarin. So this was planted in early summer. This is a golden nugget, seedless variety, supposed to be very good. Over here is a white peach that I'm in love with. This thing is so productive. This spring I had so many peaches off of this, even though it was actually quite a bit smaller than it is now. It's put on a lot of size. Just a delicious, no acid peach. And this one I got from Just Fruit and Exotics. It's a mail order company, again, out in Florida. This plant is another Suriname, but this is a red grafted variety called Lolita. It's supposed to be the best of the red. This one I got at Tropica Mango at a fairly large size. It's finally settled in and, shooting more branches and such. So I should get fruit off of this probably next year. The little one actually did fruit for me. Okay, so this plant's pretty amazing. This is called a Hog Plum or a red mambin. It is a plant native to Mexico. I get down here, you can see that more weathered wood. That's what it started out like. It was a single stick. So it pushed out those other branches. The stick was probably the height of a 1.5 feet, and if you check out my video from June, you can see what it looked like when I first planted it. And now it's well in excess of my height. You can see how bushy it is. It took our 120 degree temperatures like a champ. There's no burning at all. The leaves were pristine. I'm just amazed at the growth. And I'm not familiar with the fruit. I took a chance on this. It doesn't really taste like the American plum, I'm told. It's supposed to be pretty good tropical tasting plum. I'm going to try that out probably next year. They fruit before they leaf out in the spring. Some more lemongrass is really put on height and growth. This is the Black Beauty Dwarf Mulberry. It's a bare root, Richard's nursery, that I put in this spring. Oh, and to mention just this Hog Plum, I got that at Plantagram. It's another online nursery. It's very hard to find that one. Another good sized fig. This was my most mature one. Brown turkey. Here are those 2 solo papayas that I started last fall. I haven't gotten fruit off of them yet. Looks like I might be getting some soon. This one's flowering. Over here is the Katy Apricot. These don't like the full sun too much, but it's done okay. They're starting to drop their leaves now that it's fall time weather. This is the red Malaysian Guava. I got this one from Lowe's. And this has a nice subtle flair of strawberry to it, in addition to the normal guava taste. And the skin is red skin, so kind of an unusual tasting and looking guava. Another fig. Oh, and this Katy Apricot I got from Richard's nursery here locally, as well as those papayas. Over here is a Persian white mulberry. I picked this one up at Richard's. And it's definitely leafed out. This was a larger one to start with. I planted this as a 15-gallon. But that other one that was much smaller, in a 3-gallon size, bare root, caught up to it pretty quickly, so you really don't need to go with the large size on mulberries. This is a variety of bananas here, principally the ice cream bananas. If you saw my video in June, they had been knocked over by the monsoon winds. The stalk just snapped, so I cut those down to the ground and you know, continued watering it and fertilizing it, and these have popped up. So bananas are pretty resilient. And now with this giant timber bamboo to provide that windbreak, I think these are going to do a lot better in the future. Here's another papaya. This one is a seedling that I got from Wellsprings. This is a Tainung. Another fig. A couple figs actually. This is an all-in-one almond. I picked this up bare root a year ago from Stark Brothers, mail order. You can see the wood on it is now predominantly over a year old, so almonds can actually set next spring. This is a Panamint nectarine that I got from Lowe's. It hasn't really pushed that much fruit for me, but nectarines take a little longer than peaches to grow. This is a Chinese mulberry. It's also called Mandarin melonberry. This is in the mulberry family. And the fruit is said to taste like a cross between a fig and a watermelon. It hasn't done a whole lot. I mean, it's grown some, but it's more of a slower grower. It's definitely not got that growth rate like the Pakistani or the Persian mulberry or even the dwarf mulberry. Another fig. Another fig. Got another fig there. This is the Arbequina olive that I planted last year. It's a black Spanish olive. It did produce fruit for me, but only about a dozen or so, so I didn't really harvest them this year. There wasn't enough volume for me to really try to soak them in the brine solution. So probably next year will be a larger volume to work with. This is a Hollywood plum. I got this one at Lowe's. It's a self-fertile plum tree. You can see the leaves on it have more of that reddish hue to them. The fruit also is red. This is the Royal Poinciana. Been in the ground for a year and a half now, and it's really put on a lot of growth. These are cold sensitive, so I'll need to protect it if we go below freezing. Just wrapping the trunk. It's too big to really create a shade structure, or sorry, a cold protection frame for. This is another loquat variety. This is the Macbeth that I got from Lowe's. This one was shade protected, but it still is in a more open part of the yard. So it didn't put as much growth on as the champagne loquat that's protected back there with all that mature growth overhead from the ficus trees. Eventually these fig trees will, tower over, and this olive tree as well, to protect it. And this variety Macbeth is self-fertile. Another little fig tree. This is a Sago persimmon. Bare root I planted over a year ago. It did set fruit, but the birds actually pecked it and kind of pulled it off early, so I didn't get to try this. There's another fig plant here. And over here is a Babcock Super Patio Dwarf. that's well exceeded its advertised max height of 3 feet. This is well in excess of my height, so beyond 6 feet. And this is also a very nice white peach tree, but just not as productive as that Florida Glow. Over here is the Excel Fig that I put in this year. This is the Tiger Panache that, like the Pakistani Mulberry, really pushed a lot of growth. It was such a small little whip when I first put it in last fall, and the trunk is substantial. It's pretty well loaded with figs, so nice variety. Probably my favorite type of fig. You can see just the fruit alone is pretty ornamental on this one. And that one I got from Tropica Mango. This is a Fuji apple tree that I got from Lowe's. It's set fruit this year. It's definitely grown taller. This guy is interspecific, so this is the Laicot Aprim, so cross between an apricot and a plum. Has more of the apricot running through it. So this was planted bare root in spring. That one I got from Tropica Mango. This was also a bare root that I put in springtime. This is a Pluot, and this is a 3-in-1 variety that I got from groworganics.com. So this is a Dave Wilson. The three are Dapple Dandy, Flavor Supreme, and Flavor Queen. Since this was just planted as a bare root in spring, you know, it did flower, but I didn't get any fruit set. It was very minimal. So next year it should produce better. This is a 20th-century Asian pear. I actually had my first Asian pear ever off this tree yesterday. This tree was put into the ground last winter. I got the tree from Richard's Nursery in Phoenix. The fruit is fairly small this year, but I really like it. Better than actually the American pears. Less sweet. Has more of that apple type crunch to it. And that one was a 15 gallon, so a little larger size. So my orchard area has really taken off in the last year. I'm impressed. And I really attribute it to the wood chips. The soil life is incredible from what it was. Even though it's a lot of work, you know, to convert a lawn, it's well worth it if you want your trees to thrive. There's another Eureka Lemon. Over here I have another Barbados Cherry. So this is the Florida Sweet variety. They do not sell these, you know, at your local Lowe's. I got this tree from Seamus O'Leary's a year ago in spring. I have found that they're available mail order, so if you don't have access to a tropical nursery and you want to grow these, Top Tropicals is a good choice. This is a Boswellia sacra. This is not a tree that you eat fruit off of, but it produces a resin inside its bark. It has a whole host of medicinal and therapeutic benefits. And it's an antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory. Very expensive essential oils are made from this. I have not extracted the resin from this tree. but I did, for the first time, root some cuttings from it with high success. You can try germinating seeds, but it's a fairly difficult thing to successfully do, even if you have everything absolutely perfect. It's only about a 5% germination rate on these. So I suggest if you want to grow frankincense, that you purchase a rooted cutting. And this one I got from a place in Tempe, Arizona. They have an eBay store. It's called miniatree.com. They are fairly expensive plants and rare, so expect to spend quite a bit of money to get a small plant. But they do very well here. And this was planted in native soil, a little bit of cactus mix. This tree is about 5 years old now. Over here is a Washington navel orange. Got some sunburn here because it's over here on the east wall, getting the westward sun that beats down on it in the summer. I've got a raised bed back here with herbs and cucumber and tomatoes and so forth. Another fig plant. It's my 3-in-1 apple. The Dorset and Anna are definitely the dominant strains on this tree. Produce quite a bit of fruit. And then there's also a Fuji graft on here. Another fig tree. This is one of the few trees, again, that I put in when I first moved into this house. This is a red type of pomegranate on the inside. It's called a Wonderful variety. This was put in as a liner plant about 4 years ago. You can see I've got quite a bit of fruit this year. It actually thinned a lot. There's probably 150 or so fruit on here. And I'm bagging them because of the leaf-footed bugs. Leaf-footed bugs can really devastate your pomegranates. They basically inject them with a toxin that rots them from the inside out. So organza bags seem to work as far as keeping them off. You will have to bag them a second time after the summer, just because our heat and sun really beat up the material, and it makes it so thin it tears. So it'd be pretty easy to get in there. So a second bag helps. This is my most mature tropical pink guava. Over here. I got this from Lowe's. You can see it's well past the height of the wall. And probably about 10 feet across. Produces a lot of guavas in the summer main crop time. And I've also gotten a second crop off of this tree. Hasn't started setting its flowers yet, but that probably will be coming fairly shortly here. Guavas are probably one of the easier fruit trees to grow here. So if you're new to it and you really like guavas, I think you'll have good success with it. They are heavy feeders, so make sure you feed them a consistent organic fertilizer or compost. And they love water. This gets water every day during the summer to keep it going strong. The ficus hedge is fully grown in here. I did that as a windbreak and privacy screen for my neighbors. The last fruit tree that I'm going to show you is this Florida Prince. This was a bare root that I put in a couple years ago. It produces a very nice low acid yellow peach. And definitely a larger size fruit. So you got a lot of bang for your buck on that one. Thanks for joining me today on this tour. If you like this video and others that I've produced, really just showing you, what I've done as a gardener here in Phoenix for the last 2 years, what's possible, hit the like and subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I'll get back to you. All right, well, thanks for watching.